My name is Karen Cornelius. I'm an artist, printmaker, and painter. And this exhibition is a recent exhibition that I've done here, and it's called Wild Beauty at Risk.
My name is Sarah Hodges-Kolisnyk. I'm the director and curator at MHC Gallery.
Karen was not born in Winnipeg, moved here like almost 10 years ago.
Almost 25.
Okay. Can you share some of your life story?
Well, I grew up in the Congo, and that was a very interesting place to live. I grew up in the Turi forest, so I did actually have all my formative memories are of the rainforest. And then I spent until I was 18 in Africa. I went to high school in Kenya, and then I returned to North America, to the Philadelphia area. I went to art school in Philadelphia, and then I married my husband, who's a Canadian. We moved to Ottawa, spent 16 years in Ottawa, and then a couple of years in Eritrea with the family. And then my husband got a job, and we moved to Winnipeg.
We actually attend the same church, St. Benedict's Table, so I've known Karen for probably close to 10 years now. But I also, one of the things that St. Benedict's Table does is we have an artist in residence program, and I am part of the committee that helped decide who's going to make art for the year. So Karen has had, I don't know how many residencies you've had.
Several.
Yeah. So we got to know each other creatively that way as well.
As you always got the inspiration from your life. Why focus on rainforest?
Well, of course, it started with my connection as a child. I mean, these were my formative memories. Being in the rainforest, wandering around in the rainforest. I had a special place where I would walk down the jungle path, and I'd end up at this tiny little cemetery that was just cut out of the forest so that the trees are high, they're above you, and you're just a tiny little person underneath the canopy of the trees. And I could play in there and have a lot of fun. And that was a very, very important memory for me. And so when I started thinking about forests, and as an adult, I've been in and visited a number of forests, and then intentionally for this work, I went back and went and visited 4 rainforests in different parts of the world. And so my concern has been because of what's going on in the world, these days with climate change, and how forest is the demands on the forest are so great, and the forest is disappearing, the rainforest as well as forests in general, from, a number of things, including forest fires, which have happened this year in Canada, which have been very, very tragic. So I started to really think about the rainforest and how important the forests are to the world. And even though we live in Winnipeg, the rainforest still affects the climate and the weather in all parts of the world. Well, I submitted a proposal because I had some of the work done. I'd worked on the fabric installation. Sarah looked at the proposal, and I decided I only wanted to do the ground floor because, well, that's a lot of space both up and down. And then Sarah matched me with 2 other artists who I did not know, but whose work really speaks to mine, which has been fabulous.
2023. And I think one of the earliest conversations we had, you came in and you said, Sarah, I have all this fabric and I want to hang it from the ceiling.
Yes.
And we kind of walked around imagining what could work.
Yes, we did that because originally I'd had this idea, and then the space changed.
Mm-hmm.
And so then I brought in the blank fabric, which was good because, we could play with it. And then we tried different things, and we got out the ladders and hung it here and there, and just to see how it would work. And that was very exciting and very helpful, because I'd workshopped a couple of pieces when I was in Bali doing that residency, but it's a whole different space. And I'm so happy that we decided on the spot with the light, because it just works so well. I ended up in Bali. That's how this whole thing started. The Manitoba Arts Council funded me to go and do a residency, and I was able to work right in the rainforest. In fact, the studio was created so that there was a roof and 3 walls, but the 4th wall was open right into the rainforest. And my table where I was working was right on the edge, where I could just look straight into the forest and draw right from there.
Sounds like a paradise.
It was absolutely incredible. And that's the first time I started doing the really large pieces. Ended up on the West Coast in Washington State at the Hoh Rainforest. Then I ended up in Mexico at the Sierra Gorda Biosphere Reserve, which is a wonderful area in Mexico where you can travel to 7 different forest ecosystems, including the jungle and the cloud forest. And I'd never been in a cloud forest before, so I was super interested to go and see one. And it was just as spectacular as I expected. We had to hike way up, and then you literally are above the clouds. Mm-hmm. But you're surrounded by very tropical vegetation because of all that moisture that's coming from the clouds, even though you're at a high elevation. And then last year I was able to go back to Kenya. I've been to the Kakamega Forest before because I grew up I went to high school in Kenya. But I hadn't been there for quite a while. And this time I had time to go in, to draw day after day, and to really be in the forest for an extended period of time. And so that was really important. And that particular forest is the one that is very similar to the one I grew up. So my connection is super strong. Yeah. And I love being in the forest. I love going in and just hanging out and walk for a bit, draw for a bit, walk for a bit, draw for a bit. And enjoy the colobus monkeys and the cyc monkeys and the red tail above me, and hear the bird sounds, and just be totally immersed in that particular ecosystem. I've got an interactive part.
Yes.
Where I've offered an opportunity for community members and any viewer that comes to go, and I have leaves that were made by women in Kenya. There's a whole group that's working with women in the slums in Kenya, and they've created this business. And so they sew things, primarily uniforms for kids, but they also do work with local fabrics. And so I worked with Sarah, who was there, to create the prototype, and we made leaves, beautiful leaves out of Kenyan fabric, and I've put them all on the wall. And then I've offered everybody an opportunity to take a paper leaf and write on it what they are doing to actually save the rainforest or forests in general. Okay. And then they've replaced the paper leaf and take the cloth leaf away so that they can remember their commitment. And as the exhibition has gone along, that wall has become a wall of hope, because you can now go and read all of those things that other people are doing as well. Wow. So then you can feel like actually we are making a difference. It's a tiny little difference of each individual, but when you put them together, you have a whole wall of things that are actually being done.
Here in Canada, we're not in tropical area, so it seemed very far away from our life. This show just brings really good vibe for people here. And even though they probably didn't have a chance to go to visit rainforest, but they can feel some vibe here, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's why particularly I wanted to have some of the larger works so that you could experience being dwarfed by the rainforest, so that the rainforest can tower over you as a human person, because that's how it happens when you actually enter a rainforest.
Yeah, especially in summer. It's kind of like a retreat place.
Yeah, and Karen's so great at just capturing so much detail and so much pattern and depth, so that it really does feel like you're kind of just pulled into the work and surrounded by the rainforest. Yeah. I'm here every day in the gallery when people come through. So for sure with Karen's work, everyone talks about the color and just how refreshing it is to have these big colorful rainforests that they're immersed in. People really enjoyed the ghost forest as well, the fabric piece. And everyone really does walk through it just like you envisioned. So that's lovely. We really covered the bases between all our artists. We have all these rainforests, and then we have the prairies upstairs, and we have the British Columbia rainforest.
The Canadian.
Well. Yeah. Yeah. Yep. So, and then our sound installation features a tall grass prairie sound. So we're
perfect.
We're covered.